Masechah Rosh Hashana Parak Gimel. Before we begin learning the Mishnayot in this parak, just one point to clarify, and that is that for the summer Mishnah learning program, you are not responsible for the first Mishnah in the parak. So we will begin with Mishnah Bet. Okay, the parak is discussing the mitzvah of Tkiyat Shofar, which, as we know, is the primary mitzvah on Rosh Hashana. This Mishnah teaches us which shofarot are acceptable for the mitzvah. Kol ha-shofarot ksherin chutz mishel para mipnei shehu karen. All horns, all animal horns are acceptable for the mitzvah, except for that of a cow, or for that matter, that of a bull, mipnei shehu karen, because in Chumash it is called a karen, and for the mitzvah of shofar, one requires a shofar. Now, it's interesting, if you look in Chumash, when the Torah discusses Rosh Hashana, you will not find the term shofar. Rather, Rosh Hashana is referred to as Yom Teruah, day of blowing, or Zichron Teruah. However, there's another time when the shofar is blown in the month of Tishrei, and that is during the Yovel year on Yom Kippur. Now, the Yovel doesn't apply nowadays for technical reasons, but basically it goes as follows. We know that every 7 years is a Shemitah year. Okay, there's a 7-year cycle. On the 7th year is the Shemitah year, when we do not work the land in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, after 7 such cycles, 7 years, 7 times, 49 years. So the 50th year is called the Yovel year, the Jubilee year, and that year as well, we do not work the land. And in addition, all of the lands go back to their original owners, and all slaves are set free. So during the Yovel year on Yom Kippur, which is also in the month of Tishrei, the shofar would be blown. Okay, there the Torah uses the term shofar. So we learn there's a number of connections between the mitzvah of shofar on Rosh Hashana and that of the Yovel year on Yom Kippur. And one of those things that we learn is that on Rosh Hashana, the horn which is used needs to be called a shofar. So therefore, the Mishnah teaches us that the horn of a para, of a cow, is not acceptable because in Chumash it is called a keren, another term for a horn. So Amar Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi, v'halo kol ha-shofarot nikru keren. But all horns are called keren, okay, not just that of a cow. They all are called keren. Shne'amar bimshoch bekeren hayovel. There's a pasuk in Sefer Yehoshua which says that when the sound of the horn of a ram would extend, okay, so there we see that even the horn of a ram is called a keren. So says Rabbi Yossi, how could you exclude the horn of a para just because it's called a keren if all horns are called keren? The Gemara gives the response for the initial position of the Mishnah, and that is that it's true that the horn of a ram is called the keren, but it's also called the shofar, as opposed to the horn of a para, which is only called a keren and is never referred to as a shofar. Mishnah Gimel. Mishnah continues to teach us about the shofar which is acceptable and which is used for the mitzvah of Tkiyat Shofar. Teaches us the Mishnah. Shofar shel Rosh Hashana shel Yael. Okay, the shofar should ideally, even though there's a range of different horns which could be used, but ideally it should be from a Yael, which is a wild goat. Pashut, it should be straight or relatively straight, the horn. Upiv mitzupez zahav. Now in the Beit HaMikdash, when they would blow the shofar, so there the mouth, or close to the mouth of the shofar, it would be covered in gold. Now obviously not right where the mouth would touch the shofar. That would be a chatzitza, a separation, but a little bit removed from there, the shofar in the Beit HaMikdash would be covered in the mouthpiece. By the mouthpiece would be covered in gold. Ushtei chatzotzro min hatzdadim. And again, only in the Beit HaMikdash, in addition to having two shofarot being blown in the middle, they would have two chatzotzro, two trumpets, which would be sounded min hatzdadim, from the sides. Shofar ma'arich v'chatzotzro mikatzrot. The sound of the shofar would extend, and whereas the sound of the chatzotzrot, the trumpets, would be shorter, mikatzrot would be shorter, shem mitzvat hayom b'shofar, because on Rosh Hashanah the mitzvah of the day is blowing the shofar. So basically, you would have 4 people, 2 in the middle blowing the 2 shofarot, one on each side blowing a trumpet, and when the trumpet blowers would stop, so the ones who would blow the shofar would extend the sound a little bit, because that was the primary mitzvah for that day.